Hi, Brian. What's the space thing?
What's the
Hi,
what?
Brian. There's
Hello.
the creepy landlady.
Oh, dude,
Always
we got a new
makes-
facade. We got a new face and low latency on DiamondClub.tv. Look at that. Look at that. You got the multi-stream viewer? Let's see. I'm clicking on multi-stream. Oh, wait.
What?
So yeah, well, we've had the 4-in-1 for a little while, so you can pick multiple channels, you can pick multiple chats, you can pull up second screen in one of these.
Check out our wiki. Oh, damn.
You know, we might find out in a couple days if we're gonna do a Weird Things vacation, guys.
Ooh.
Man, I would like to take a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I would like... Man, I'm excited. That'd be fun.
Man.
That'd be a fun vacation.
That would be a great vacation. I'd be very excited about that vacation.
That would
I almost refuse to think about it.
I mean, to be honest, that's exactly where I am too. I'm just all like, hey, you know what? Maybe vacations will happen. Maybe they won't.
You know what, though?
Meanwhile, these goblins ain't gonna talk about themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, somebody's got to get in the salt mines and talk about old Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
You were gonna say, you know what though?
I got a cold, so I'm trying to suck down a cough drop here.
Suck
You know
it,
what?
Jack.
There are other vacation destinations. There are other travel agencies.
There
It's
are.
not just take a vacation. A vacation can happen.
Works for me, bro.
Hey, by the way, I think, but just so everybody knows, my my pick this week is gonna be Mr. Robot because I caught up on season 2.
Oh, right on.
Cool.
I don't know where people are at about this. Like, I've heard some like crazy mixed thoughts about season 2, but I'm just gonna tell you, I watched like 6 episodes straight yesterday, and it was the bomb in your mom.
Cool. I can't
yeah,
wait. I've been avoiding every spoiler I can, and I wanted to watch it all the way through.
You might have gotten ahead of me, Justin, because we sat down to watch the latest episode, and then like 5 minutes in, it was kind of a testament to Mr. Robot's style that it took 5 minutes for us to realize, no, this is definitely last week's episode. This is not some kind of crazy flashbacky thing they're pulling on us.
Yeah, no, it's great. A friend of mine, I don't know whether or not he was talking about season 1 or season 2, was talking about how he was binge watching it, but he was way high with his friends, and at some point had to like ask his friend whether or not what was happening on screen was really happening.
Was happening for him too. Yeah.
It is confident television making in a way that is always jarring when you're watching it on.
Are you talking specifically like maybe 2 episodes ago when there was a like you thought you were maybe watching a different show?
I don't know where he was. I don't know. I mean, all I know is that it's Mr. Robot, so there could be 90 different episodes in which that would be a reasonable reaction. It's so funny because when you watch it on USA, on USA On Demand or whatever, which it just accesses through Sling, all you do is you get 2 commercials in between the thing, so it's actually really unobtrusive, and it's way better than Hulu, for example. They they show just these little interstitials for their other shows, which makes you realize how out of place.
Mr. Robot, like even when it launched, I remember being like, USA Network? What?
Where it's like it goes to like a Suits promo, where it's like, you know, am I the best closer in this city? You better believe it. Like, I'm a hard charging pretty boy lawyer man, and if you get in my way, you better make sure you have on the right.
Pretty Boy
suits.
Lawyer Man's actually a CW show.
Is
Or
that
maybe
it? Pretty boy
Freeform.
lawyer man.
Yeah.
Hey, my lawyering is second to none. I'm an ace in the hole, a high flying, freewheeling, pretty boy lawyer man.
Super dealing lawyer boy.
It's suit checkout. You better suit it up if you want to suit it in.
It makes you appreciate how special it is that a show like Mr. Robot even exists.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's it's so well done, and the fact that it even I don't know what it's like in first run. I don't know whether or not they let the F-bombs go in the live viewing.
I think a lot of those are just muted out, where it's like you clearly watch them mouth the words.
That's how I get it, but I don't know whether or not that's just what they do in the on demand or whatever. If maybe it's a different thing if they run it, because I know a lot of times they'll let something
See,
go.
I just buy all. Okay, so if you're getting it muted bombed, because like I've given up. I've gotten too frustrated even with Sling. I just buy the seasons and I have to wait an extra day for them to show up on Amazon. But it's
what's
awesome.
Weird is that this last episode had an F-bomb, but it was muted out, and I was watching it on. I bought it via Amazon.
What?
I feel like I've noticed it a couple of times this season. Where
By the way, muted an F-bomb. Let a C-bomb go though.
Ha!
yeah, that's right.
But yeah, no, it was so I don't know what it is, but even then it feels like, oh, this is a show that feels like a movie, and so it's presented like they would Goodfellas or something, where it's like, no, let's not like shove random words 80 yard into their mouths. Let's just bleep it.
I'm good to go. By the way,
Oh, you good?
What's that? You ready to go?
I'm gonna go. My cough drop is digested.
All right.
Ludens, it's like candy. You look forward to getting sick.
Ooh. Oh, you got those Luden's cough drops?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, I used to love those when I was a kid. Cherry Luden's cough drops.
All right. Well, let's take it away, Andrew. In 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
That's a fact. Like Agnes, Agatha, Jermaine, and Jack.
Justin Robert Young.
Hey, what's up?
So, gentlemen, I had prepared in my show notes a discussion we are going to have about the cost of big science. Are we making a trade-off? Some of the disappointments of the Large Hadron Collider. But no, we get sent from Jonathan Hand a breaking update music. This right
Breaking
now
news.
from basically the Pravda of the U.S. Coast to Coast AM has this breaking story from 2 days ago. Nicaraguan woman claims goblins abducted her. In a bizarre segment from Nicaraguan television, a woman recalled how she had been kidnapped for nearly a week by goblins when she was a child. Sharing the incredible story with Canal 10, the woman named Jasmina claimed that the incident occurred when the entities suddenly appeared one day and began playing with her. However, their conviviality was apparently a ruse as the goblins lured her away, she says, and kept her in a cave for 5 days and 6 nights. According to Jasmina, her family managed to rescue her by acting on the advice of a local witch. While Jasmina's tale is truly fantastic, no kidding, the presence of goblins in the area was supported by other members of her community. A pair of residents that spoke with the program alleged that there were many goblins living in the area, avoiding churches and communicating from hill to hill. What exactly these goblins look like appears to be a bit nebulous, as the television report showcased images of garden gnomes, suggesting that perhaps the creatures are more human-like rather than beastly. Meanwhile, Jasmina's story comes on the heels of another Nicaraguan being possessed during a report on exorcism. Blah, but that's not important. Although many skeptics may be quick to dismiss goblins lurking in the remote part of Nicaragua, the idea of diminutive beings behaving in just a manner, as Jasmina describes, have been reported throughout the world for centuries. Okay, I have to do time out here, okay?
Yeah, let's say just unequivocally, we're not cool with ragging on diminutive humans.
Right, wait,
as
Brian,
the shortest person on this
Wait,
podcast.
Brian, stop. Stop. I have something very important to reveal. I recorded a test podcast of Darker Path. Justin was there. We recorded this. What day, Justin?
That was Thursday
night. Yeah,
Thursday
night, a day before this report.
Okay.
What was the premise?
The premise was that we were going down into the Amazon to try to find, investigate a viral video of a goblin coming out of the woods and terrorizing
South American goblins.
Yes.
That's all.
Art imitating life, life imitating art. You, dear listeners, be the judge.
All right, Brian, please continue. I interrupted you rudely, but
No. I mean, which is the greater mystery here? The fact that a woman claims goblins kidnapped her, or the fact that a podcaster claims he talked about goblins shortly before learning about the so this chick, like, I guess, was this a recovered memory situation? Like, she just up and decided to talk about, like, well, when I was a kid, I definitely remember 5 nights and 6 days in which goblins captured me.
I don't know. I haven't actually. I look forward to some of our listeners actually listening to the story and giving us some sort of translation of that and helping us understand, what's going on there.
Yeah, well, because she mentions, like, when she was a child, which is like, man, all bets are off. Because I remember teleporting through time and space as a child. I remember living a past life as a child. I remember eating a lot of bugs as a child that definitely I didn't eat. I mean, it's nobody trusts your memories on anything ever.
Space and time.
What's
Did you
that?
really travel space and time?
Oh, I told you. I told you all about this, right? One of my earliest memories is false memory as like a 3 or 4 year old child, where I assume in reality what happened is I looked at a photograph that was hung on the wall of a wheat field sunset. And I had one of those little waking dream states that children are prone to, where in my memory is that, and over the years, I'm sure it's gotten massaged over time, but it's like I'm wearing old-timey 1800s clothes and we're throwing a baseball around or whatever. It's at sunset. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, that scene that I'm seeing, I'm pulled out of it and I'm looking at a frame of it in my parents' living room or whatever. So it's like, all of this is to say, I don't trust my memories, and you most certainly should not trust my memories, or the memories of a lady in Nicaragua who talks about how she recalls as a child being kidnapped for a week.
I have an alternate theory, and Brian, are you sure that you didn't go off and have adventures with Phineas Fogg? Just saying, could have happened.
Look, man, everything's on the table. Any and everything could be.
So often in these goblin stories, we come across like, yeah, they were a problem, they were a nuisance. Then fortunately, this very helpful witch or witch doctor was able to provide a very valuable service to me. So I'm going to hypothesize. Oh, your child got kidnapped, did you? Oh, it's probably goblins. Yeah, probably goblins. Yeah, I can help you find them. I'm not going to ask for payment, but my assistant here, will probably tell you, like, she'll never ask for payment or he'll never ask for payment, but maybe a little help will help. That's one of the ways that kind of con works.
So wait, you're telling me that in Nicaragua and in some of these other places that the goblins on some astral plane or here on Earth underneath a full moon have consorted with the witch doctors to run a scam where the goblins kidnap people and then the witch doctors collect payments so they can divvy it up, probably by blood sacrifice later that moon?
I'm saying Pedro in a Yoda mask working with the witch doctor may have concocted.
Yeah, have we ever gotten clear on what goblins look like? Like, do we have an official goblin proto-vision, like an official stereotype of what goblins are?
In Africa, goblin seems to be more like spirit, and that's why these goblin stories we encounter seem very much like people being victimized by people using rape drugs. We're here. This is like the Duende, which was a plot line for a test episode of not to talk about having our finger on the pulse of weird, but listen, folks.
Maybe it's the same as the drawing of the leprechaun from one of our favorite viral videos.
Ha! Who else seen a leprechaun? Say yeah.
Law enforcement says the leprechaun looks like this.
Who knows? Who knows? We had to bring that news to you. Now we'll go back to the regular weird things topic. Guys, last week we were talking about the rumors that maybe there was going to be a planet found around Proxima Centauri, and there was no confirmation of that. A lot can change in 6 days, 7 days.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I feel like we were throwing a little shade on them, too. We were like, oh, yeah, they said that there was news incoming. Snoresville. Sorry, wake me when you give me some news about some habitable Earth-like planet.
Now it turns out that we have confirmation, at least scientists are very reasonably confident, published a paper claiming that there is a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri, our nearest star, they believe has a planet. Right now it's called Proxima Centauri b, an exoplanet orbiting within the habitable zone of the red dwarf, the closest star to our sun.
And
it's
how
located
how
about
big is it?
4.2 light years away.
How big is it?
It is roughly, I think, like 1.5 times, but they think about 1.3 times the mass of Earth.
So theoretically, so what would life evolve? Would it be possible to have intelligent, like human level intelligent life evolve on even an Earth-like planet with that much more gravity? Because a big part of the way we evolved is, we have tendrils and digits, and we climb, and a big part of that is a function of the fact that we don't weigh quite so much, and that we're able to swing from tree limbs and so on. I'm not saying that anything's impossible or whatever, but I'd be really curious to know what smarter people than us think the level of gravity on the planet.
Well, a dumb guy like
affect.
you will tell you, Brian, that 1.3% is not that significant. It also depends upon the side and the radius of the planet, because you can have the mass of the total planet, but also you have planets that are much, much more massive than Earth, but because they're much bigger, because remember, size and mass and weight are different things, that you could have something that have a greater mass than Earth, but it's less dense, you could have less gravity. But answer your question, that's not a theoretical holdback as far as what we think life would be. The big problem is the fact that it's so damn close to its sun that it gets a ton of radiation, far more radiation than we get when it gets these solar flares. But a research paper came out explaining how certain kinds of coral on Earth are very, very immune to forms of radiation, can actually transfer that into forms of, give off, like fluoresce, and actually provide a source of energy for other forms of life. And that's one of the things that we might look at, is the idea that there could be, on Proxima Centauri b, there could be very, very more exotic forms of like coral or things like that, and rock formations. You could have things that could live inside of there. You might have parts of it that you could have if it was a planet that started further out and then it orbited in closer, you could have had life that slowly adapted and evolved. You could have had much more water, and that water could have become part of more of a, gone underground and be part of sort of a dense sort of aquifer. So,
well, sure, and I'm not even thinking in terms of whether or not life is there, but specifically intelligent life, or intelligent life that's able to build and make and use tools, because just as much of our ability to create technology and create devices that are able to create other devices with greater precision is a part of, opposable thumbs and fingers and being above water and having a clear view of the night sky and, all these things that we have going for us. I wonder how many of those get taken away with something as simple as a change in density or gravity.
Yeah, and that's a good question. All depends kind of like what kind of life that you have there. That's a big thing, is that, humans have a range of masses, and, I probably weigh, 20% more than either one of you, so, to that deal. And certainly, my experience of what I've got to move around is different. Now, obviously it's the law of scales, things that works differently, but we don't know. There's intelligent life didn't develop on our planet until, less than 1 million years ago. And our planet's been around for billions of years. Life has been around for billions of years. So it took a considerable amount of time and a lot of just so things to happen to make that possible, to evolve more sophisticated brains, as far as we know. So maybe those conditions, I'm one of those people who thinks that maybe intelligent life is a fluke that only happens once, And I would be surprised if there was intelligent life there at all.
Wait, in the entire universe or galaxy, or in full stop?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, sure. Yeah, implies that the scale is insignificant. Like whether it's you seem like when you say sure. Yeah, it's like in this room. Yeah, sure. Pretty sure it only happened once.
Well,
in the planet, probably once. In the galaxy, probably once. In the universe, I mean, those are vastly different scales.
But remember, our universe is still very young. Our universe is very, very young, and our solar system is one of these older sorts of ones. You know, Proxima Centauri b is going to be around. It's going to be orbiting its star for 1 trillion years. We're going to get absorbed into our sun in 1 billion years. If you're to ask me in the next 100 billion years of the universe, could intelligent life come up again? I'd be more inclined. Like maybe, I don't know. But I think that it certainly gets into. You're right. You're absolutely right. Like, listen, galaxy is one thing, universe is a much, much bigger place, but it is not infinite. You know, there is a finite size to it, and how many conditions had to be right, and how long it took for it to develop here, and how early on we are. Maybe, you know, I don't know.
Well, I guess also then you get into the deeper question of what constitutes intelligence. Are you saying that that human intelligence is the only intelligent life that would develop on planet Earth?
I think that, you know, if we get into tool building and transmission information over generations, those are pretty big qualities for me. And again, that's, you know, that's how I, you know, people could parse that. But
right, but then you got like let's say whales. You know, they write songs that do get passed on from generation to generation, but they just don't have hands. They just got these flippy things. So it's like that's sort of
what are those songs about? Yo, Krill's great.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
What are they doing? What are they talking about? Like, hey, water, what's up? This is the best. You ever jump out sometimes? I have. So did my grandpappy.
yeah, they pass songs. We don't know the capacity of, you know, what the bandwidth is for information getting passed through from whale to whale. We don't know, like, in tool building is sort of critical because it's a way to modify your environment to help you and pass on that stuff. There are a lot of different ways to define it, and I'm not going to say that mine is the right way to do it. And I've had people like, I think it means a sense of play. I'm like, well, dogs play, you know, we love dogs, and it can be, it's always going to be a very, very personal thing. But at what point, you know, what is it we're looking for? You know, we can communicate partially with dolphins to some degree. We can have some sort of back and forth, but their way of thinking, their way of looking at the world is so different than ours. But they're extremely intelligent, extremely intelligent.
Sure.
You know, African greys are very, very intelligent.
Well, and there's some level of trade, and African greys have demonstrated that they are able to appear to be able to count. You know,
But
there's
I
ongoing debates about whether Coco is speaking language or just having generously interpreted faux talk.
You know, but that's where it gets back to a big part of it is the theory of mind, is that we're trying to develop models of how African greys and dolphins and everything else function inside of our heads. And when we talk, we don't know that they're doing that. You know, we don't know that they're trying to make that happen.
So somebody in the chat points out a link to, you know, the old Drake equation. And there was a fantastic lecture by Michael Crichton, who was wrong about some things, but very, very smart about others. And he points out that the Drake equation is something that is literally nothing but prejudice. It is every single variable you put in there is just your preconceived notion about what you think the odds are of how different things get defined. And when an entire equation is made of prejudice, and that's a word spoken, you know, without, you know, preconceived, not meant to be a loaded word. It's like, it's just full on. It's what's already in your head being written down. And as he puts it, an equation that can mean anything means nothing, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the Drake equation for this one, it was this idea of what number of stars would have planets orbiting them, what number of those planets would be habitable, what number of planets would have life, and what number of planets with life develop intelligent life. And what we know now is that we think that probably every star probably has planets orbiting around it. And the fact that Proxima Centauri b has a theoretically habitable planet means that the habitable planets, you know, there are probably loads of them out there. How many are going to be Earth-like and have, you know, seasons and stuff like we do is different, but that seems to be a ton out there. But we don't know how often life forms, and when it comes to like how often intelligent life happens, you know, I bring back the example is that if we use kind of a very strict definition of intelligent life, you know, you're going to find out in the, you know, 6 billion year history of our planet or our solar system that we've only had intelligent life for a few 100,000 years. We've had very intelligent hominids, but self-sentient, tool building that passed that information on. Neanderthals didn't change their hand axes for a million years.
Well, and then keep in mind also that there's very likely or theoretically some next level of intelligence that we don't meet the criteria for yet.
I agree.
So out there are some kind of synthetic future fourth dimensional beings who are just like, well, that's not intelligent life. It's adorable that they think they're at the top of the food chain.
I totally agree, and I think that one of the things that happens when we start to create artificial intelligence is that we're going to be very quickly aware of how closer we are to monkeys and rats than we are to them. That's a scary thought.
We're really cool, like rats. We're great when we compare ourselves to rats.
I mean, are we though?
I mean,
I think I can make a case for rats having their act together. You don't see. Actually, I was going to make jokes about like you don't see rats committing suicide or dying of stress or being addicted to drugs, but I'm pretty sure we've made sure all those things have happened. So
yeah,
I take it
what?
back.
Hey, listen, you don't see people dragging rat food around with their mouths down a subway train set of steps. Right?
No.
On the internet.
Although maybe we need to see some more of that. Maybe that's what we need is somebody go get some rat food and start dragging it up and down.
Oh damn! I'll tell you what. I feel like I just figured out what my what my Dragon Con costume is gonna be.
It's gonna be that rat dragging a giant pizza.
Yeah, no. Ashley made a pizza rat costume that I totally ganked, and I feel like I'm gonna do that again for
that's
Dragon
amazing.
Con.
You know, speaking of a rat trying to drag a piece of pizza down into the subway to feed his family of turtles.
Yeah. You know, you guys can do that for us because our piece of pizza is your generosity at patreon.com/weirdthings. You might notice that we're doing this show on a Sunday. That has not always been fortunate enough to be the case over the past few weeks because we are bouncing around and doing various different things. But it is today. We have made sure that we have not skipped a week because you guys make it so. Thanks to patreon.com/weirdthings. Kick us whatever you got if you enjoy your weekly dose of weird. Thank you to everybody who supports us at patreon.com/weirdthings.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I'm going to jump right in here with this question I'm going to throw to the floor here. You know, this week's been exciting. We had there's been a discovery of a dark matter galaxy that was something like 99.9% dark matter, which is kind of awesome because we don't know what dark matter is. You know, it's a thing that does a thing. And
forgive me, I never really got clear on the dark matter thing. If I remember correctly, dark matter was, and I hope I'm right. When you look at the way a galaxy spins, you think, well, if what I'm seeing is all the mass there, it shouldn't spin that way. There must be extra mass that I can't see. But if I can't see it, then that means it must be giving off no heat at all. It must be literally dark matter. That's the only way to account for the way these galaxies are spinning. Is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir. That's what dark matter is. That's kind of our trying to understand. We've been trying to figure out what it actually is, what that material would be. And we don't know. We do not know, you know. So that's just one of the bigger mysteries. And, you know, last year there was a lot of excitement when the Large Hadron Collider they were like, yes, we think we have confirmation of the Higgs boson. And, you know, it was, yay, it's proof. This thing is great. We didn't, you know, just the billions of dollars we spent on this was a great idea, really, to prove the Standard Model. And then there were rumors, and then it seems to come out that no, that the energy levels they had is not true. It's a statistical fluke.
Wait. Why am I just hearing this now? This is new news that just came out that when we were all cheering for, because the whole point was they're like, yes, if the Higgs boson is real, then it will be proven by a largely uniform curve with a little tiny bump, like a zit on a line at one point. And they're like, we did it. We found the zit on the line. It proves everything. God, and then everyone used the word God particle because they thought that was a good idea to keep people from overreacting. And they're saying, whoopsie, no ways?
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's the official line. Whoopsie, no ways.
Okay, okay, so now I assume this is the time for this is the time for all fundamentalists to go, where's your science god now? Your zit turns out only to be a mole. By the way, you should
Brian,
get that
it's
looked
not
at.
just that, it's other scientists who've been saying we've been spending billions of dollars in support of the standard model that we keep not quite getting able to do, and the physicists working on that are like, yeah, but give us more money, we'll build a bigger one, the bigger one will do it. Meanwhile, there's all these other sciences that are like, imagine what $1 billion could do for human evolution research. Imagine what $1 billion could do in a lot of other areas of science, but it ain't going there. It's getting fed into this big theoretical physics thing of let's build this big, huge machine because we talk poetically about how this is understanding where things came from. And meanwhile, there are people out there in the field trying to find out human origins, and there's exciting stuff there, vastly underfunded because it's not as sexy. It doesn't involve as much graft as building a big, huge facility with a lot of contractors and a lot of money flowing to the states and the countries that are part of this.
This is a great question, though. The question is, like, how do you decide? This is the age-old practical or applied sciences versus fundamental sciences, right? Like, if nuclear physics was not very attractive until somebody says, we can make a bomb out of it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, well let's really put effort into it now. How do you decide? Should we have like a science Olympics where everybody just wrestles each other and that's where the money goes?
So right now we have, NASA's working on the SLS, the quote Senate launch system, this big, huge rocket that's supposed to be our next generation of vehicle. And guess what? It's going to take longer and cost a lot more money and may not have a practical mission because it'll be too expensive to use it. But hey, a lot of the contractors that have worked for NASA for years love this program, and a lot of people work for NASA are like, yeah, but we love it if we get funded. And we have this idea of science as this noble pursuit, but they're people who need jobs and who are trying to get by doing what they're doing, and everybody has their vested interests. And the problem is when you're spending billions of dollars in public money, I think you need to deal with some criticism. You can't just say, hey, it's science. It's science, bro. Don't be one of those people who's anti-science. Be like, well, yeah, there's a lot of kinds of science, and not all, not every kind of science gets treated that way. And the ones that involve opportunity for graft and big contracts and big things like that tend to happen where things are like, hey, let's $1 billion. Imagine if you could give $1,000 million grants to paleontologists and biologists and people doing the research of human evolution. What would that be like? What would you be able to do there? What would be the picture we'd have?
I mean, I guess the answer is I don't.
The problem is also you don't give that bone for everybody who is okaying this funding and research to take back, right? Like if you are going to champion or you're going to get behind a bill that does X, Y, or Z, you want something to show for it, or else it's going to get punched in your face during the next time that you run for whatever seat you're in, because somebody will say like, well, while Senator Murphy was funding whether or not penguins are gay, the people in their district was dying in the streets. Like, so you need to have, if you are going to put your name on it, if you're going to make sure that this happens, then this needs to be something that you can say like, yes, I'm proud to stand for space or physics or something like that. Like you need something that is retail.
I mean, so is the takeaway that we didn't learn anything and we yielded nothing for this $1 billion, or that we got a little bit, or and also in the grand scheme of it, then it gets triple complicated, because it's like, are we talking about just government funding money, or are we talking about like private investment? Because of course we have people getting ready to space mine all the asteroids, and I assume nobody's complaining about whether or not their efforts are fruitless or not.
It's government money, and it's multiple governments' money, so it's the people's money, and it comes down to, and it's like, I love the idea of super colliders. Like I think that's a great idea, but I can also tell you, the amount of money trying to be spent to try to make them cheaper, faster, smaller, not much, because that's not the interest. And there are people who if you put 10% of that budget into building better, smaller systems or radical ways in which to do this sort of research, you might have some amazing results, but that's not in people's interest. We talk about the Human Genome Project. Craig Venter, part of this project, trying to map the human genome, which means you map the human genome, maybe we could figure out some cures and stuff for diseases. Guys working for it, goes to the bosses there. This is government project, says, hey, I have a faster way to do this. I have a faster way we can map this genome quicker. Like, nope, we're fully funded. We're funded for the next 10 years. We don't need to speed this up. Everybody's got jobs, whatever. That would not what we're trying to do here. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go start my own company. I'm gonna go do it myself. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, then we're gonna say it's a tie.
Well, so okay, well, so what's the? I guess I was gonna say what's the answer, but that makes me wonder what's the question. Is the question which is the best science, and how much money does it deserve?
The question is, should we be spending all this money in one area? If we have X amount of dollars to spend on science, okay? Things that the bigger the project, and the more opportunities for other people to get work, whether they're contractors, whatever, the better your chance of succeeding. It has nothing to do with really the likelihood of it, like trying to discover the Higgs boson is fascinating, but the standard model may be totally wrong. It probably is, and probably has there's probably reasons why we haven't been able to confirm this without having to keep refining it. So the point is that big projects get funded because there's a lot of handouts.
God, do you know what? I would love for somebody to design a website, design an engine where you break down questions in binary format about where $1, if you had $1 to spend, would you spend it on a project that would definitely, let's say, reduce carbon emissions by 50% worldwide over the next 100 years, or would you spend it on confirming whether or not the Higgs boson is a real particle or not?
Well, I'm going to throw a question at you, Brian.
Typical small-minded Brian. You don't dream anymore, Brian. You don't dream about the big solutions, the big, amazing things we could discover if only we spent all this money on one big thing instead of a million little confirmations.
Here's my issue with that is that, remember the excitement on solar roads and how us and many others had to explain to people why it was a really dumb idea,
Sure.
Because
it was a really great viral video, though, in the same way that Bit My Finger was.
Because people were like, yeah, solar roads, why not? And you're like, well, I'm sure you've put a lot of thought into this thing. There's actually a lot of really good reasons why. And that gets to be the frustrating thing. Like, it's we get upset at these companies, right now you have the whole thing with EpiPen. This company decided to raise the price, which looks like to be just an outrageous thing to do, and people are outraged by it. And it's like, hey, how much money did you spend funding startups to come up with competitive products? What have you done to try to solve this problem? And,
and also the EpiPen thing is like, this is also kind of the process of that like, I don't know. I mean, and obviously the EpiPen thing is certainly a personal situation for the Brushwood house because your daughters suffer from food allergies. But it kind of, I am only half educated on this, so I don't want to shoot off half cocked, but it seems to me that withering public and market pressure on what the general populace deems to be too high of a price is part of the risk of raising prices that high.
I agree, and I think that, and it's good. I'd like to see more of that too, because you've had people with, they have children who have these orphan conditions. There aren't orphan diseases. There aren't as much treatments, and those prices go way up. Whatever, and it's a bigger problem. But it's also like, all right, what are the solutions besides just yelling at these? Guess what? Was months ago was Martin Skrell, where it's always going to be some evil person who's going to do this. Let's come up with let's yell at them for doing what I think is just not cool. Two, what can we do proactively in the future to encourage the development of new drugs? Because one of the problems we've had before is like when other countries decided they were going to do counterfeit, let's say AZT, is that it had a huge impact on investing in new AIDS drugs. And I understand why they did it. I understand the very humanitarian reason when you have people dying that you're going to go do that. But also when you're a country that does have billions of dollars of resources that maybe you could spend on it. But when you do this and you're champion, like, yeah, you're doing the right thing. It's like, yeah, we may not get the next drug because you destroyed the market for it. How do we solve that? How do we continue this?
Where you at, Brian? I mean, you're the only one with real skin in the game when it comes to the EpiPen thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm too ill-informed to really go anywhere with it. I do know that I've seen some tweets, people talking about like, hey, here's a off-brand, very similar substance that isn't marketed as a life-saving way to distribute epinephrine, but does essentially the same thing. And I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. It's a scary because you look at like raising the price like they did could be in the difference between a family deciding to have one or two. One to send with a kid to school, and that's a man. We're all kind of pro-free. We're all free market type people, but you look at this situation here, it's like, how do we going forward not have children die?
Well, keep in mind also, there's to me what's more interesting is the larger question of do we. How much of this is a fact of somebody having gotten there first and being the only one who knows the process versus artificial constraints for protected monopolies? Like that's a different solution when all of a sudden you're paying the right politicians to pass the right law to guarantee you a certain amount of time that nobody legally is able to compete with your product. That doesn't strike me as so great.
Well, and also the some of the solutions that have kind of been bandied about where like, oh, well, you should be price locked or the government would take over manufacturing of life-saving stuff doesn't necessarily solve that problem at all, right? Because if the government now has a stake in either subsidy or manufacturing of certain things, then it is less likely that people will want to create cheaper, different alternatives for it.
Yeah, it's complicated. Point is, big science. Do we need it, or do we need a lot of medium science?
Man, I don't even know. It just seems to me like in general, the solution should always be more people competing, just more people competing on everything always. And yes, I understand the need to quote unquote protect, or to incentivize people to compete, but we already have that, and we don't even need it as far as like, government grants or government protected monopolies. I'm a bigger fan of Ansari X Prize type incentives where for every $10 million X Prize you offer, you're going to get $130 million of private investment, most of whom are going to fail and lose, but they're going to, be part of the general push that's going to accelerate everything forward.
Speaking of protected, Brian, you're protected right now.
I don't know that I am. Don't know that I am.
You're protected by several people guarding you as you're in a basement, tied up in a town called Salvation.
Okay.
On Journey Quest.
All right, look. Am I alone, or is our chick friend around?
She's been pulled away from you, Brian. You're in the basement of the Dunkin' Donuts, somewhere in some small town, somewhere in Texas. You were pedaling along on your bicycle, and you were able to avoid, by the way, the landmines there for cars. So, listen, I'm going to shut up about giving you a hard time about that, okay?
Good.
You're like, limp it, mine, rolled around it, F you, man, wherever you are.
I went off the beaten path. Good.
I'm like, how did this get into my scenario? I thought I was in control. So, you're there, then all of a sudden, you hear a gunshot. You look around and you're surrounded by guys with a rifle, people, masked figures with like
how many am I looking at?
What's that?
How many of them?
You see at least 4 barrels pointed at you.
Okay, and they're all male?
They're covered up.
They look weathered. I mean, arms in the air, obviously. Like, hey.
Yep.
I heard this was the place to be.
Get off your vehicle and lay down on the ground.
I like to imagine, though, that Brian has been pedaling so hard that his hands are up, but it's also like behind his head because he's like catching his breath like, all right, no, I'm giving up. I'm just trying to get some wind.
And big sweat stains.
3 deep.
Big. They're like, hey, put your arms down. Put your arms down.
They're like, you guys got some, you got a bit of water? It's been, it's hot out here. It's West Texas.
Real scorcher.
Brian, so you get off your bike, you lay down flat on the ground.
Yep.
Hood goes over your head. Hands get tied up.
Okay. Well, and by the way, the whole time I'm just saying, this isn't necessary. There's so few of us alive. Seems like we should pool our resources. We should all be on the same team here.
Yeah. They're like, just keep your mouth shut. You get dragged, carried away, thrown in the back of a truck. 15 minutes later, you're pushed down some stairs. You're put inside of like a basement. Another masked figure's got their little mask on. And they're sitting on the staircase with a rifle.
Can I just ask real quick? What is it with the masks? Because I understand if you're hiding from me, but it's not. I don't work for the media. I'm not a journalist. If you want a journalist, you really ought to talk to my partner in crime, Justin Robert Young. He's you can show me what you look like, right?
Where is this, Justin? So somebody comes in there, figure comes in there, not holding a gun, another mask over his face, tall, posing. You're like, all right.
All right, you know what? At this point, I'm not even gonna say show. You don't have to show me your face. Let's just have mask parody. Seems like I should have a mask too. And at this point, I take my hands and I curl them over with two OK signs. That I invert over my face, and I'm like, I have a mask too.
All right, well that's what you'd like to do, Brian, but your hands are tied behind your back, so
okay.
you can't.
Damn. All right.
No, see, Brian used the Rogues Gallery. One of the things he bought there to untie.
Okay, I'm thinking about whether or not I'm gonna pull off. I don't know what my binds are, but it may be that I can use my Rogue's ring to saw my way out. But I'm just taking it all in. So I'm in a Dunkin' Donuts. Somebody comes down with the mask. What do they say? What do they say to me?
What's your name?
I say Spartacus. No, wait, it's Luke Skywalker. Also, what does it matter? The world's ended.
You get kicked in the stomach really hard, Brian. Really, really hard. Really painfully hard.
Don't try to be a hero, boy.
Voice says, next time it's your balls.
All right, fine. I'm the internet's Brian Brushwood. Remember when we used to have an internet? That was me on it.
Then you hear, oh, man. Wait, scam school, Brian?
I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, it is.
Guy takes off a mask. Some Diamond Club member. You've met him before. You don't really vague name. We'll call him Diamond Club Steve.
Oh, I was like, hey, Diamond Club Steve, did we meet at was it CreateCon? Where were you on?
Dude, you did this college lecture. It was great. Don't you remember? We hung out afterwards.
Oh,
we got a beer. It was a great time.
Man, I just have this weird thing where it's hard for me to remember college lectures when I'm tied up.
Oh yeah, bro. Here, we'll take care. I thought you used the Rogue's ring. I saw it on you.
Well,
man.
I didn't want to. Yeah, these seem like really nice ropes that you put me in, so I didn't want to actually tear them apart or nothing.
Oh, no worries. Belinda, would you untie him here, please?
Oh, Belinda, is this the Belinda you were talking about at that lecture?
Mask, beautiful redheaded woman.
Oh, man, wow! You guys have a hell of a setup. I noticed that we're kind of underground in a basement. Did this used to be a Dunkin' Donuts? Because I think I played a gig here once.
Still is. We got the fryer working and everything.
Oh my God! Could I get a donut?
Yeah, we're gonna talk first. We're gonna. Talk.
Oh yeah, no. Well, let's chat. What's going on here? What do you got here?
All right, Brian. Would you pull over? I'm gonna pull over a carton of cream filling cubes. And have a seat. Have a seat. I'm gonna talk to you, Belinda. Would you go upstairs and go check on things?
We're gonna talk.
I'll be right back.
We're gonna talk some custard talk here.
All right, man. So listen, I'm gonna give you the lay of the land here. When this outbreaky thing started coming through town, coming through everywhere, there was an army truck here, had a bunch of vaccine in it.
Yeah.
And I overheard a couple guys talking over at Waffle Hut, and about the vaccine and stuff. People were getting sick, and so me and a couple friends, we one thing led to another. Let's just say we got the vaccine.
Wait, I mean, did you take it? Did you guys just... Did you steal vaccine based on hearsay and then administer it to yourself in the hopes that it happened to match the disease that was going on?
Brian, people were dying.
I'm not judging. I'm just.
There's a little judginess in your voice.
I clarify. That's my clarifying voice. A lot of people confuse it for my judging voice.
Sounded judgy from here.
Okay,
Never mind me. I'm going to get the donuts.
By the way, Belinda, you're doing great with the donuts. They smell delicious.
Thanks.
Okay.
I had some of the vaccine. I was able to save some people, save some lives. Happened to be at that point in time,
So are you immune?
what's that?
Are you immune? You had the vaccine?
Well, there might be other versions of it going out there, but we're not going to get into the here or the what or what else I may know or whatever. I'm just going to give you the sort of the present. I'm going to catch you up right now.
Sure.
There may have been a bus with a bunch of college cheerleaders driving through town at the time.
Yeah.
May have been their savior.
What you administered a lot of vaccines.
Let's say a lot of people in Salvation died so I could save these young lives.
Wait, you selected is this a little bit of now Steve, come on, Diamond Club, right? You and me,
Diamond
we're
Club
bros.
Steve. It's actually my name here is Diamond Club Steve.
Diamond Club Steve. It's just us
I hope you
boys
don't
here.
mind. I actually call this the Diamond Club.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It's just us here. I don't think Belinda can hear us up there. You can't hear us up there, can you, Belinda?
Nope.
Okay, good. Listen, did you actively select to save the lives of beautiful women so that you could, let your genetic lineage become superior in the brave new world?
Sure, that second part's totally the reason why I did it.
Oh yes. Okay, but I mean, ultimately, that's the result, though.
Yes,
But
yes.
these are healthy, nubile women.
Yes, very much so.
Are they-
And Bri, I'm gonna tell you, got a little bit of a problem here.
I give advice. That's what I do in the post-apocalypse.
Population of Salvation's approximately 31,
Okay, how many of them are cheerleaders?
or just of the female persuasion,
Sure.
29.
Ooh. Just so we're clear, are you counting me in that? Am I in the 31?
Winner, chicken dinner, Bri.
Yay. So, were you liking the equilibrium here? Because if you want to just, did I ever tell you how much I love protecting monopolies? It seems like you should have a monopoly on sex and power in this region. And also, I love the government, and you are the government. Let me get out of your way.
Donuts are done. We don't have any of the rings, but we got plenty of holes.
Yeah. Brian, I don't think you're getting at the problem here. Imagine you had a donut shop and you could have as many donuts as you want.
Yeah.
And imagine the first few days you just eat donuts all the time. Donuts.
Oh, you're looking for pigs in a blanket, aren't you?
No, Brian. And put your pants back on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That was real awkward. Yeah. I mean, I was just doing my best to be there for you, but I guess no. I'm sorry.
Brian, I appreciate the offer.
No, I mean, like, I'm here to help. You were kind enough to.
No, I never picked that up.
Hey, we still do the podcast. Diamond Club's a real thing. Justin and I, we still making them laugh.
I was more of a Jason Murphy fan, to be honest with you.
Damn it. Maybe I'm not clear on the problem.
Justin's a great guy, sad that he died, all that. Wait, did you say he's still alive?
Well, I mean, in my head, I'm
not going to have him killed.
I know you wouldn't. But it's too bad he would succumb to the disease. I think he was in Ohio when the plague hit.
All right, Brian, because you wouldn't lie to me, because I'm going to show you the Diamond Club symbol, and you wouldn't lie to somebody who do that.
Oh, no. I mean, hey, I'm going to do the Diamond Club symbol back to you. It's a new variation where I put across my fingers behind my back.
Brian,
no?
We saw the truck. We saw Justin. We saw you get out.
Okay. All right, fine. We have been recording new episodes of Night Attack, but here's the good news. If you there's not a website anymore. Just write down the words patreon.com/Night Attack, and I'll give you those episodes. You could give me whatever amount of donuts you want for them. Just pledge, and we'll give them to you on an ongoing basis.
All right, Brian, listen, let's talk real here. See, here's the problem. Salvation may be the last hope for humanity. Maybe the last hope for humanity.
Why? It seems like
because it's all that's left, Brian.
I mean, we don't know. Don't you need a Magellan to be searching on your behalf? We'll plant flags that say salvation as far west as you want.
Brian, we need to search. We need to look. We need to find other people out there. We need to know what the world is like.
I agree. Yeah, I brought one. I brought a woman. She seemed relatively sane.
Is that something about she killing her child, by the way?
I mean, the child's dead.
All right, let's not talk about that, Brian. So here's my thing. Here's my offer to you.
Okay.
It's vitally important we go explore. It's vitally important that we continue. It's vitally important that we continue here. It's vitally important the salvation is looked after, protected.
Yeah, about that. It seems like you got that under control, right?
Brian, I need to get out of here. Brian,
Wait.
I've had enough.
Diamond Club Steve, you're surrounded. Wait, yeah, you're surrounded by all these beautiful nubile women. You're the literal last man on earth, as far as they know.
Listen, yeah, and it's great. It's wonderful. Why should I be the only one that has this benefit? And if we want to repopulate the earth, can't just be my genes. We don't want a bunch of mongoloid babies, do we?
Well, first of all, I bristle at the
Typical
insensitive.
Diamond Club Steve, always blah blah blah.
So you just want to get out of Dodge? You want to join us?
I want you to take my place here.
Okay, but you'll be gone, and then you won't really have any way. There won't be any more guns on me, and I could go.
No, well, you can't. Like, we've got some freezers and stuff with vaccine and stuff, and I would need you to stay here to take care of it.
Yeah. Listen about that. We're on a quest, kind of our quest. I'm looking at my quest booklet. It's kind of. Oh, you know who would be great? That crazy person. She's really obsessed with babies. She wants to upset. Do we ever find out her name? How about I call? Can I call Justin? Can I get him on the phone?
Brian, are you an idiot?
Well, I mean, on the radio.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, is there any way? Can we go capture my friend Justin, and then we can all have this conversation?
Brian, no. I listen. I kind of told the ladies that we are going to have a new leader. A new person's coming. I was going to go off and find more help. And when we walk up those stairs, you've got to be the one that says it.
Okay. All right. Fine. I'll be their leader. Real quick, any crazy rules, customs, any kind of, fatwas you've issued?
Well, we are going to give you a tracking collar, so you don't just tell me you're going to be the leader and run off.
All right. Come on. Who flashed the Diamond Club sign? Me. That's
Brian.
Don't
no,
worry
I don't think
about
you
that.
realize, like, I'm Diamond Club now. I'm Diamond Club Steve.
Okay, great leader. Let's put a pin in the whole collar thing. Maybe I meet the ladies or citizens.
Brian, it's not an issue we get to negotiate.
All right, give me the collar. Fine. Is this like it's locked on? Is that what's going on?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to lock this thing on you. It's good.
Okay, great. We got a collar on.
And thank God, because, like, I've never raised children, and I don't even know where to begin. 28 pregnancies. Can you imagine that?
Oh.
28. What are the chances? We think that vaccine had some sort of fertility thing to it, too.
Oh. So they're, you didn't mention they're all a little bit pregnant. Ew, okay. Great. Okay, let's meet them. Let's we having a mixer? Is that what's going on?
We're going to find out next week, Brian, when you meet them. Find out what's up with Justin.
Probably shouldn't have put on that collar.
No, probably not.
I mean, I didn't really have many other choices. I mean, they have guns, and also you could do worse than. I mean, what's? It's not like I can get them pregnant.
Well,
Talking Brian.
could be, yes.
You just gave up on the journey.
Next time on Journey Quest, the misogynistic, apocalyptic, male fetish fantasy, we'll find out there are consequences to these things.
Oi.
Brian,
What?
at least when I abandoned you last week, I was continuing on our mission.
Dude, I was trying to get to the mission. What am I
We're
gonna
gonna get to the missionary position.
I mean, okay, well, I want to see a society. I want to see what.
We had a mission. We had a journey and a quest, which is why
I
it's a
got
journey
captured. I still have to
Wait,
rescue that
meanwhile,
girl.
on Journey Quest, we're continuing on right now. Bring in Justin Robert Young to talk to Brian. Hey, Brian, I brought your friend Justin. I was hoping it was Jason or Tom Merritt. But here,
All
why don't you
right.
guys talk this over?
All right, look.
Wait, hold on, wait. All right, so real. Do we get any feedback on how I got there? Did they capture the wagon? Because we don't know the backstory. I'm just there.
You're just there. Who cares? You know.
Also, wasn't there that other guy that sounded like Brian?
You're on the walkie-talkies.
All right.
Okay.
All right, listen, Justin, I'm totally captured. They got me in chains. They kind of want me to be leader. Sounds really like a, lateral management role. They're pivoting, apparently, to baby creation.
Are you alone?
No, but we can use our secret code that we worked out.
Well, who else? Is Diamond Club Steve there?
Yeah. Diamond Club Steve is.
Hey, bro, I'm going to go upstairs to check on the Krillers.
Okay, great. All right.
Listen, man, they got this chain thing around my neck, and there's nothing but pregnant cheerleaders here. To be honest, this guy sounds like a deadbeat, and he just wants out of his responsibility. If there's a way that we can kind of sneak
Hey, Brian,
around.
you want to try some... Oh, Brian, that hurt. I was going to give you a Boston cream.
No. We're working on a new rap album. Stephen Cogswell is also alive. He's going to remix this.
Everything I heard, I do agree with.
Yeah.
Let's escape.
Oh, what a cape. Capers.
All right. I got an idea.
Yeah.
What if this guy, Diamond Club Steve, needs a way to get out, right? So find out whether or not he has a vehicle that is comparable to our battle wagon.
Wait, why don't we just invite Diamond Club Steve? Tell him that we're all...
Are we going to skip past the part? How many shady characters do you need to bring on to our adventure?
I'm
First,
saying,
we have
then
old
ditch
crazy
him.
Mary,
Then
who's
we
probably
ditch
going
him.
to axe us because she thinks that we murdered her child.
No, we
now
did-
it's going to be Despot Epsilon, who's impregnated all these people and puts a tracking collar on you.
But I mean, that's fine. But then we leave him, and then on the road we go.
No, here's what we do: you find out whether or not he's got a vehicle that is comparable.
Yeah. Why do we need to see if he has a vehicle?
Hold on.
right.
Wait for the plan.
All right.
So then you offer, in exchange for taking off the tracking collar, that we will give him our battle wagon, right? And then at the point of the handoff, all he's got is 28 people that you're supposed to be taking care of. We axe Diamond Club Steve. We get into the battle wagon. Get the hell out of Dodge.
For our audio listeners, Bryce has superimposed a tracking collar on Brian's neck. I'm like, is that new studio equipment?
I mean, okay, all right. Number one, first of all, it's not that uncomfortable. Second of all, this tracking collar is the closest thing that exists to Twitter in this post-apocalyptic universe. I feel like it pretty much just says, I'm here doing my thing, and everyone should know. Third of all, somebody should stay to take care of all these pregnant ladies. I mean, what, are you going to envision some kind of magical future where women have agency and take care of themselves?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, all right. I'm down. I'm in. Let's go.
All right, so you got to negotiate with him and make the deal with
right.
Diamond Club Steve.
Diamond Club
that he'll take off the collar because the collar's got to come off
Yeah.
in exchange for us giving him the battle wagon to go out on.
Okay, no, but how do we get the battle wagon back again? And why?
Just at the exchange, man. We blow him off at the exchange.
Okay, all right. DCS, Diamond Club Steve, where are you, bud?
Yo, here, Brian. Right here.
Hey, man, listen, totally down with your plan. I understand you got to take care of all these ladies. You understand that you want to get out there. Hey, you remember Andrew Main? We were on a quest to go find him. So in fact, we have this sweet battle wagon. Justin's there. I was just talking to him on the radio. How about we do this? Just get this silly tracking collar off of me. You and Justin can hop in that battle wagon. Off you go. I'll take care of everything.
Listen, Brian, gotta table this discussion right now. We've got a Veronica Mars fan fiction contest I gotta go judge. So, think that over. I'll be back.
All right.
Hey, come on, sales pressure. The clock is ticking. You'd love to keep this on, but your manager's in your ear. You got to make a call before the sales quarter.
Well, okay, all right. Well, hey, Diamond Club Steve, I'm sorry, but my manager says this is a one-time offer deal. You either take it or you never get it again.
No, what'd you just eat? Allergy. You have an EpiPen on the battle wagon.
Yeah, also, I ate that donut and I need to get to the battle wagon. This is a lot of tactics that this walkie-talkie is suggesting that I do at once, but I'm just going to try all the sales tactics.
We'll have to find out next week.
God, damn it.
I think we rallied. We were in a really dark place and we rallied.
Fair enough.
Gentlemen, do you have any picks?
Yeah, I do. I got a pick that I hated as a book, never finished it. Tried to read it as an audiobook, never finished it. It was tedious and slow, and I didn't care for it much. But now it's a BBC television show that just popped up on Netflix. Got to admit, kind of love it. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell just popped up on Netflix. It's a BBC original. And I think the reason I didn't care for the book or audiobook is, it's about Victorian England, alternate reality, where magic used to be a thing and then it stopped being a thing. And I think I don't mind a Victorian world. I just mind reading Victorian-style tedium. And the television show does not have that Victorian-style tedium. It's just about a Victorian-style world, which I loved. Digging it. I'm only one episode in.
Justin?
My pick is going to be Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot. It's on the USA Network, where you can also find Monday Night Raw and Crisley Knows Best. But you can very much enjoy what I think is the best show on television. I remember after I watched the first season, I was talking to Andrew, and we were kind of having a larger discussion about big, visionary, rad TV shows and how, especially when they are so creator-driven, which Mr. Robot is, and this season is written and directed by the showrunner.
Sam Esmail.
Exactly. That these shows have a tendency to disappear up their own butt at a certain point because you're very much inside one person's head and they can, right? And so I was kind of in the back of my mind kind of thinking, listen, that first season was just brilliant. I kind of wonder whether or not it's possible that you can have a show sort of exist at that level. And now 8 episodes into a 12-episode season 2, I'm very, very, very much loving it. And there are twists and turns, and some of them have been controversial with the audience. I have loved all of them, and I don't think that they are done unfolding. And I think that that's the kind of very confident television that we've come to know and love from Mr. Robot. And I think it's just so exceptional. It's really, really good.
I haven't seen the latest episode of Mr. Robot, but I am much cooler on season 2 than I was on season 1. Yeah, just because season 2 is a lot more work than season 1. There's a lot more, and maybe it's because I'm watching it week over week that it's different than the binging experience. But it's just like, oh no, but don't you remember this guy? He showed up for 5 seconds last season. And now you're being reminded of him in the previously on because it's an important piece of the puzzle in this one episode you're watching right now.
That's kind of been something that they've done a lot, though, is especially there was a point at the end of season 1 when 2 characters that were both central to the plot, but you hadn't really seen interact with each other, were all of a sudden in a scene together and really friendly. And that foreshadowed a big revelation that was either coming later in that episode or the next episode, that because you are dealing with an unreliable narrator, you tend to have the world around you is kind of revealed as he either reveals it to himself or it is revealed to him in his mental state.
Yeah, I guess also I'm still processing the difference. I think it's a smart move for them to make, but in the first season, he's an unreliable narrator because he sees things a certain way, whereas in the second season, he's an unreliable narrator because he's like, oh, kind of been lying to you. Whoopsie Doodle, which is a different thing. It just changes a bit of the tone.
Yeah, I mean, we can parse it, in terms of how different that is from Revelations in the first season. But I definitely see where you're coming from, and I think that it's not invalid criticism, but it to me signals that you are opening up so many more narrative opportunities, and what had been an entertaining, fun plot line for him now becomes a bigger, more interesting and rich one. I also think that what we are probably going to see, or what I hope we are going to see in this show that we were not necessarily expecting, is you are starting to see some of the real world ramifications of what the end of the first season brought.
Right.
And I would love for the show to spin a little bit more toward that this show, the most like our world would be, the first season. And as we get into subsequent seasons, it starts to look and feel and act like a different kind of place.
That would be great, especially given that the entire purpose of the big quest of the first season was, to liberate people, but instead would have just made things an awful lot like Journey Quest.
Well, I mean, and it becomes the question, how, and this is a great question to ask, of like revolutions in general. Why do revolutions tend to kill revolutionaries, right? Like, why do revolutions, if they are successful, tend to create power vacuums? There's a lot of great questions, and as we are in a hyper political space right now with the election going on, but also just broadly as we're more interconnected throughout the world, and we are, I think, a more empathetic people thanks to the internet. The question is, what are our desires? What is revenge? And what is solution? And what is progress? And for a show that has character motivations that tend to be very feel-goody, I think it speaks to the intelligence of the show that very often what is happening based on their actions has unintended consequences. And I think that's a really rad part of the show.
What about you, Andrew?
I had that whole thing muted. You guys were way more spoiler than you realized. And I love that show, and it won't have anything ruined for me. So I have no idea what you said, but I'm going to double down on Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Right on.
I, too, picked up that book. I think I have the book, started the book. Too dry, too Victorian, exactly everything you said.
Everything's footnotes. Half the book is footnotes.
Yeah, and it was one of these things where it was so dense to try to get. I tried that first chapter. I'm like, this is just so. I mean, there are people who love that kind of thing. For me, not. And so I didn't get the audiobook until after I watched that TV series, and I actually bought the series when it was on iTunes, and then now that it's out here, this was my pick because it's just the way they did this alternative history without it being too weird and too bizarre, where it sort of fits in natural. The idea that magic was a thing, kind of implying sort of back in sort of a medieval sort of era thing. Loved it. Loved the way that was. So I really, really, really highly recommend it.
Awesome.
All right, gentlemen, it's been weird.
So it has.
All right.
I'm going to get cough drop.
I'm going to make sure the children are still alive since the 8-year-old is in charge of the 3-year-old.
I'm gonna get water.
It's like the Khmer Rouge here.
Hey everybody, how's your Sunday going? Ooh, I have to get ready for our guest. Let me turn on a little bit of music. Why don't we do that? And we'll just get a little bit of, what are we listening to? Here's some Skizzy Mars.
Sniff and blow, that's her antidote. I can't believe you don't smoke anymore. My crew is chillin', but I'm over there getting roll. A lot of women, but I'm still fucking different hoes. My sidekick, we broke up, turned into foes. The summer just passed, but damn, you fucking cold. Said I text her back when she calls me on the phone. Late night, late fight, tell me what you know. Tell me what you hate. Do you believe in fate? Do you believe in love on first days? Cause I don't, and I won't call you my girl. There's way too many bad bitches in this fucking world. What?
If you can't see the stars cause the clouds, where's the silver lining? Yeah, it's true, I was never your girl, but baby, don't remind me. I guess all this time I've been blinded. Oh, don't remind me.
It's funny now that shit is getting serious. Niggas getting moody like women on their periods. Black Hank Moody at the top of the pyramid. Chugging whiskey backwoods if you're curious. Yeah, I smashed your friend, but there was no emotion. Put on some Channel Orange, know that Frank Ocean. Shit out my LA girls that be running in the morning. She wanna join the team, I got a fortune, but
If you can't see the stars cause the clouds, where's the silver lining? Yeah, it's true, I was never your girl, but baby, don't remind me. I guess all this time I've been blinded.
Alright. I think we've got our buddy here. Let me give him a Hey, Peter, can you hear us?
Hey guys.
Hey.
Well, hi Andrew. Hi Bryce.
Hello, Mr. Peter.
Is the space heater too much ambient noise in the background?
Nah, it'll be fine.
Okay. Cool.
Do you have headphones though? We're getting a little bit of an echoey thing, if possible.
Well, I have.
Yo! What's up, Steve Wax?
Peter.
You know.
We just did a segment where I had a character called Diamond Club Steve, so that's why.
Oh, wait, sorry, Peter Wax. Whoops.
The brain cache. I do that all the time. Like, I have the cache in my head, and like, I had my nieces over here, and my girlfriend was visiting, and last thing you want to do is call a girlfriend by the name of one of your nieces.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny, but it's actually the most commonly people who have messed up my name. It's frequently Steve for some reason.
No kidding.
You could be a Steve. I totally see that.
Yeah, that started when I was like 19. All right, let me try.
Just started looking Stevie.
Yeah, a friend of mine's grandmother. I was over there for Thanksgiving, and the entire night she was calling me Steve.
Oh. Is that, I'm sorry, I just walked in. Is that room tone coming from Peter?
Yes.
Got it. And then
but
we're
will
fixing
be,
it.
It will be fun.
Got it.
Except that that's not working.
Oh, you don't hear us in your headphone?
No, you're still coming over my speakers.
Oh.
That's really odd. All right. Let me run upstairs and grab my really good headphones. I'll be right back, and I will mute for the time being.
Okay. Move Andrew around. Ooh, look at that.
Thank you. It's my rimmer face.
Dude, Diamond Club is a pretty great bunch of people.
Yes. You don't deserve them, Brian.
I don't. I don't.
Who was that you were playing when we were off, Bryce?
Oh, that was Skizzy Mars. Skizzy Mars.
I like asking you stuff like that because it would make no difference if you just lied to me. You just made up a name. I'd be like, yeah, all right, great.
It's Fitty Bang.
Well, and like, it's funny because Skizzy Mars sounds like a name you would make up.
Yeah, I would be sending in. I'd be tweeting out. Such garbage that Apple Music doesn't have any Skeezy Mars.
Can you hear us now in your headphone, Peter? Oh, you did. You are still muted, by the way. No. Oh, okay. Good. Giving ya. Let me see. Let me pull up you guys' pretty new pages.
Yeah, I'm messing with my settings. I give me a second.
Sure, take your time.
You sound much better now.
Yeah, it picked up the microphone. It didn't pick up the headphones, though.
Oh, that might be a Skype setting. You may have to change that in Skype to what your speaker is.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
toying with.
Gotcha. Anybody see any good movies past couple of weeks?
There's
There
been
are no
nothing
movies.
out.
Yeah.
I know. I was like gonna go. I was
There we
telling
go.
Sarah, like, hey, let's go see a movie. And I'm like, just what do you want to see? I'm like, yeah, about that.
Hey Justin, what do you think the gap is between us and Tom Merritt?
Oh, jeez. I don't know what.
Just guess.
5 million?
14 million.
No, wait, that counts what happened this weekend?
I believe this weekend has already come out. They usually report it early Sunday.
But is it?
Last updated yesterday.
Okay. Well, dang.
If it's 14, we win, right? Because nothing's going to happen between now and Thursday that makes 14 million.
Well,
This is the last weekend they got. Now it's just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
yeah,
Thursday.
you're right. Wow.
Great.
So even if it gets to within 5 million, we're still probably fine.
I'm okay with all of this.
Alrighty. Any? All right. So I think we're good with Peter. Any last minute
Yep.
things before we start after things?
Yes, Bryce, we love you.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're much appreciated.
We do.
Someone just sent in a topic for after things, but
We'll do that next week. I think we'll be probably full
Yeah.
up with our self-promotion and self-aggrandizing here.
but thank you for sending that in, Gavin, and I will be sure to send that along.
No, yeah, absolutely. Keep sending those after things because we love to talk about your stuff
Yeah.
and what we can do.
Alrighty. Well, let me count you in, and then we'll start the show called After Things. Take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to the After Things podcast, where we talk to creatives like yourself about being creative and hopefully give some useful advice or not. Joining me, as per usual, is Mr. Brian Brushwood,
Hello.
Justin Robert Young,
Hello, friends.
and live from Colorado is our special guest, Peter J. Wax.
Where it's already starting to get cold. That's
Oh.
right. Next time you visit Andrew, we're gonna have snow for you again.
There was snow the last time I was there. I just assume, or second to last time. It was crazy. So, Peter is joining us on After Things because we wanted to talk about a project that we're working on, and I actually wanted to pick the brains of Justin and Brian and maybe the chat room too, because we've been working on this thing for quite some time, and I've hinted at it, talked a little bit about it. What it came down to was
You've been a big tease about it.
As authors trying to figure out what would make our lives easier. What are tools and services as authors that we could use? And I had been working, looking sort of kind of for technology solutions to an extent. Peter has been working in the industry for years, working with different publishers, different authors, as well as his own career. He's worked for Kevin J. Anderson. He's worked with WordFire. He's been an advisor to other publishing groups and talks a lot about writing as a frequent guest at writing conventions. And I had a project that I've been developing called Writer Tool, which basically it started the idea of making it very easy to share excerpts from books and to make it very easy for people who like your stuff to share your stuff with other people. And it started off with just the idea of something you put a little link at the end of a book, say embed this if you want to share the sample. And then it extended into developing a website that made it easier for authors to create author websites. Because if you try to go to other websites to create stuff, to try to make something that works well if you write books or stories is problematic and takes a lot more time and is hard to maintain in many, many ways if you're using such a narrow case. So that became the idea of creating a site where an author could go up to sign in, create an account, quickly create a page, list their books there, put the links to Amazon and where else you want to sell them, Kobo, Barnes & Nobles, etc. Put really easy to read samples of your books there. Also upload stories so people have a reason to go to your site. It's like, hey, go read this latest story, go do this. And a lot of other features that, were coming to our, as we talked about this more and more. And so Peter, I showed Peter sort of the roughest version of this, just sort of a demo version. Probably was it November, Peter?
Yeah, it was October or November. It was a long time ago.
And so it became kind of an ongoing project. And I talked to different friends who are developers about helping develop it. And, they were helpful, but there's only so much time that a friend can volunteer to spend on something like this. And so long story short, Peter and I were very, very excited about the idea and what it could do. After my birthday, May 25th, hint, hint, I decided that, I was happy with what I did as a writer the previous year, but I wasn't as happy with what I did outside of that. So I sat down and decided to learn how to program Ruby, how to use Ruby on Rails, and actually how to build this thing instead of trying to beg friends to help me with it. And 2 months later, after diving deep into that, in late night conversations with Peter about features and what we can add and how to make this thing work, yesterday, we took off the curtain or unveiled the curtain, or we did the metaphor and show the first phase of it. And so the first phase is just my page and Peter's page. And we're trying to figure out like what's broken, what doesn't work. And then we're going to move into the next phase and shortly in a week or so, where we're going to bring in other authors and let them create their own pages. And we're just trying to make sure that everything works. And that's the key, is that, we've had great feedback in the last 24 hours from people as we move forward on that. And so now we're officially talking about authorpage, authorpage.com.
So authorpage.com, if there's literally 10 seconds that we're in an elevator together at Dragon Con or whatever, and just like, oh, you're not on Authorpage, you got to do it because you've got
It's a free
books.
website for authors, makes it easy to promote your books and share with your fans, build up your fan list, everything.
Right on.
Yes,
So
pretty succinct.
I'm gonna guess, and this is me, since this is all new to me. I'm gonna guess there's like a blog or a regular update component to the whole thing, so that you can put out latest
No, I was
news.
told that was a horrible idea by somebody I won't name.
All right. So Andrew showed this. I mean, I've been talking with Andrew about this for about as long as it has been in development. I am very, very excited for it to roll out. For me, in my thought about it, I think that it's at its best when it is at its simplest. That this is a place where you can find books, new books, sign up for mailing lists, and have an easy way to interact with an author, either by way of finding their contact information or by, commenting on, specific books, or finding ways to get to places where you want to get that. Also, what I think is really the most interesting
By the way,
and
it does have
exciting.
a blog, guys. I ignored his advice. I'm just pointing that out. So, yeah.
what I think is really really exceptional about it is that you can very easily create a very readable way to read the first chapter of anything. So if you click on any of these books and then just go to read a sample chapter, it auto shows you, or I mean you have to put it in, but it shows you a really well formatted first chapter. And this is something that I think is really, really lacking, especially if you look at, I mean, right now, the best version of this that exists for authors is on Amazon, which is fantastic because so many books are found on Amazon, but that's for Amazon. Amazon will put a link to a garden hose right next to your book because for them, it's a win if somebody comes into the store looking at your book, doesn't buy it, but buys a garden hose. This is just about the book and the author. And I think that's really, 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 really exciting. And it solves a lot of the problems that authors, run into initially in terms of not being able to put together a succinct website and not being able to put together a website that, to be frank, looks good at all.
Is there a...
Well, that's you're hitting on a really big problem for a lot of authors out there is that, it's not about the promotion, it's not about the web savvy, it's about creating the story, creating the book. And a lot of people have really bad websites. And this gives them the opportunity to have something that's super clean, focused, that their fans can go in, grab favorite stories and books and actually, use it to promote them. So I think you're hitting it on the head with the clean, simple website.
Is there a review aspect to it? Is there a discoverability? Like if you like Andrew Main's book, do you discover Peter J. Wax through that?
So what we're trying to do is create this from the author's point of view. And so it's not a Goodreads. It's not a site where fans go to rate stuff or whatever. We're like, what do you want as an author? And you want control. So you can go take the best reviews you've had, whatever. You can post those. I can post in my favorite books as an author and say, check out Peter's books, check out this other stuff. So it's everything from the author centric. So we're giving the author control over that sort of experience because my problem with a lot of other sites and pages, like if you go there if I say, hey, go check out my thing, there are 30 different things trying to pull you away from there. And I want to control that experience and say, I want to tell you about my book. I want a thing that does that. And I want to focus on that. I don't want pop-ups. I don't want to say, yeah, if you're thinking about this, but maybe go look at somebody else's book. So everything's done from the point of view of, as a writer, what would I want on my own personal website to have control over? And then we're going to have social aspects for writers to talk to writers, to find services and stuff. We may have a layer for like fans and stuff to create fan pages where they have favorite authors and to collect stuff. But right now, you have to say, what's our goal? And our goal is let's create the best tool for writers.
Yep.
So it just makes it dead simple to create a good gallery portfolio of all your work.
Yeah, it's the theming. The theming is so Bryce is on my page, or I think Bryce is on my page right now, and I can go in and changing it is, I am literally 2 clicks away. Go ahead and refresh that, Bryce. Boom. I just did that as I was talking, was able to change up the theme, and let me go to a more radical theme here.
You kind of went from a light theme to a dark theme.
Yeah, now click it again, refresh again.
Oh.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, cool. And it's even got like a sort of effect on the titles.
Drop shadow.
Yeah.
Went into Photoshop, created my own 3D texture effect, lay over the books, put in a drop shadow and all that. So that, this is the thing that's still, those themes are still work in progress. So that's, we wanted to create themes, and I'm not a professional theme designer. So that's, one of the things we're going to be looking into bringing more expertise to that by changing it again. So you can change that really, really quick. One of the problems I've had with my doing a website is, so let's see, I've got my front page. Let's see.
By the way, I just signed up, and it definitely. I got one of those dead simple recaptchas where all I had to do is click the button that says "I am not a robot," and I did it, and then I hit submit, and it says "recaptcha failed. Try again."
That was MailChimp, not us.
Okay, whatever it was, but the point is, I failed at the literally click this button to show that you're not a robot.
Yeah, we have our own system to sign up, so. Bryce, if you go hit it again, I'll show you. Like I just, and talking to you guys here, I was able to change the front page text on the thing. So, that's how easy we want it, because that's one of the problems is trying to update websites and to like do updates, and it gets to be such a pain in the neck to go do that we wanted to create a way to make that super easy to change this stuff. So one of the many features we're trying to put in there. But yeah, that's we have like signing up for email lists, things like that. Very dead simple there.
I mean, because that's the biggest thing is when you talk about what the best places for people to gather are right now, it really is for fans or merchants. Like there's really nowhere there for authors, and it's something that I know from another end. Brian and I, certainly have a large problem whenever we guest on a podcast, Brian, and we're like, oh, we do 1 million. There's always the joke of like, the people who know what we do know that we do 1 billion different podcasts, right? And there have been attempts to do like about.me and stuff like that, to do some kind of simple landing page, but none of them are really good. Like ultimately, I think we both default to the same answer, which is just like, I don't know, follow me on Twitter. I tweet about what I do on Twitter, and that's just kind of the way that it is. But there's no great way to just let people know, hey, here's just a simple thing where it's like all the podcasts that I do, and find the one that you like, or pushes people. Podcasting is a little bit different of a situation because it's so personal where people read it. But if it's like, I want people for the first week I want to direct all my book sales to one place as opposed to another place, then I want to make the default button on a place where I'm getting a lot of traffic or I'm putting a lot of attention, then you can change that with Author Page. And that's something that I think is kind of new media wide, but Author Page really has an opportunity to solve that problem for people who are pushing.
Speaking of which, Open Bayou in the chat had the exact same question that I had, which is if you give somebody your authorpage.com website and they go and then they click and they see the first chapter, I assume there's some link that says buy the book. Does it use your author affiliate or your Amazon affiliate code when they go over?
It uses the Author Page affiliate. That's how we pay the rent.
Oh, got it. Yep.
So that's the trade-off. So you as the author, you still get this book sale. You make your money from that. So we're using our affiliate code as a way to pay for it. So
got it.
That's the whole business model there. And we're very open. We're very like, this is the way we're going to do it. But if you go if you list it, let's say you host it on your own on Payloads or whatever, we'll let you do that. We're totally agnostic for how you want to sell it or where you want to push it. And if there's an affiliate we can get from doing that, we'll do that. But because the problem is like, so we've got some partners that want to use it, that like publishing and other industry partners that they're anxious to put this in front of their groups and stuff. And I had a conversation with somebody at a publisher, and they're like, oh, this is great, I hope you're going to charge for it. And I'm like, authors don't want to pay for stuff. It's that the number one, we want to make it, I'm a big believer you can make something free and pay for it, just do that. Two, I don't think that's really a very worthwhile market for us to try to like say you got to pay us X dollars a month for this thing.
Right.
Peter, your thoughts?
Yeah, my brain is still back on how simple it was to build. I'm in the same space as you. Generally, the average author is out there selling, maybe a couple hundred copies of each book each year. They're struggling, they're fighting, they're trying to get their name up. It's a struggle to figure out, am I going to pay, $5 a month for this service? Am I going to, it's not something that's easy to dig into the wallet because, there's a reason that the term starving artist is used to describe starting artists, starting writers, any type of creator who's building their way up. So anything that we can do to keep it free for people, yeah, absolutely.
And we think it's going to be, one of those, as Brian, as we've talked about those models where like we'll have a lot of amateurs creating sites and stuff that aren't really going to be making revenue that are going to cost us, but we think there'll be enough high volume authors who'll do that. They'll offset the cost of that. And so we just, we shelled out some money to buy authorpage.com because we thought that would be like the most sort of definitive, like I'm a writer. Where do I find you? Authorpage.com/my name, and figured out what would be trivial for some but was challenging for me, like how to use a Rails database and system, and how to use a Rails system and have the URL point towards your name and not /users/author page or whatever.
Right.
So
right.
So-
and so often that's the simplicity that makes something take off, is if it's dead simple and you could just, like if it works, even if you don't tell someone, like let's say I meet an author and I remember their name, and I have a good odds that if I go to authorpage.com/their name, something pops up. That's
Yep.
what's going to take off on its own.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Brian. Is that we want to make it as simple as possible. We want to create, and by creating it free, we just want to make it a resource for people. And authors like you have a lot of control over your links and stuff. We'll help you, like a lot of authors need to build up their email list. And at first, our solution was like, well, let's just, here, put your MailChimp link here. But I talked to somebody who don't even have MailChimp or they don't use any of the other services. So we said, well, let's just add. Let's go add in our own function to help you collect email addresses from people so that you can build up your list, because it's one of those things that, Brian, you and I live and die in many ways by our email lists.
Yeah, and really, if you're an author of any variety, you have to build your list and you have to diversify your list. You have to be able to get to your crowd multiple different ways. I mean, we're sitting on. Between the YouTube account, between the Twitter account, between the Facebook and Google Plus, I'm using air quotes, and the email. Like, I'm still hungry for more ways to reach anyone who gives a damn about the stuff that I do, and just collecting them is the biggest thing.
Yeah, we all are hungry. When you're talking about the simplicity, that is actually something that. Andrew, you just so nailed it. You learned a programming language to do this, but I wanted to talk really quickly about that first time when you had me go in and create my page, and I didn't bother to read the walkthrough, I was just like, I'm just going to go hit buttons and mash buttons. Now, I'm with hardware, I'm great. I can build a computer, without even just hand a pile of parts to me, and I'm good to go. But I'm a Luddite with software. I'm a complete moron with it. And it took me, what was it, like 27 minutes before I had every section on the site up running with some of my info and content and everything like that. And it's so intuitive that I think is also one of the key things. Writers don't have a lot of time to do things besides create. Talking about hungrily using every tool to that you can grab into to go out there and find people who are fans of your creation. That's a huge time sink. So that is part of the other piece of the simplicity of this that just well done, Andrew.
Well, I mean, it's critical to get feedback and to figure stuff out, because the part of the problem is like, for me, it's obvious how everything works. And I had stuff where I'm like, well, no, this is consistent there. And I'm like telling people, like, no, it should be consistent. This means this, so it always means that. But he's like, well, yeah, but I don't know that would mean that, or I'm not used to this contextual stuff. So I have to sit back and go, I thought that was a best practice, but maybe that wasn't, or how do I simplify that? And we're still figuring stuff out. Like, the question came up about doing an FAQ. I'm like, well, it has an FAQ, just the bottom of the page and the footer, but maybe it needs to be more prominent, A lot of those things are still trying to figure out, because, you get deep, like I get deep into the woods where, and we know that, like, our plan is first let people go look at the front end, give us feedback. And I have some questions I want to throw to everybody in a second about that. Next step is going to be bring in a few people, some authors who want to put some books up and to check that out as Peter and I work on the documentation and try to explain things. And then third is we'll be working with some partners to put it in front of more people. But it's that you don't know what you don't know, and what you may be totally obvious to you is only obvious to you because you spent 3 weeks thinking about it and coming to what was the obvious decision.
Do you guys have like a planned rollout schedule as far when you want to hit certain benchmarks, as far as people getting, at this point we want to have this many users, and at this point we want to blah blah blah?
So we have step one is to find all the little bugs on the front end, and I've been making changes, and I've been creating new bugs too. I woke up this morning to find out that I totally destroyed the way the menu system worked last night when I was like, oh, I should just use this menu element here instead of this. And then I woke up to one in our bug tracker. We have a bug tracker, by the way, if you find something, tell us. And then Peter like, yeah, I don't want to wake you up, but this thing's kind of broken. So I got up, I'm like, oh, I know what I did, and fixed that. So that's phase one is that. Second phase is going to be, we're going to be working on documentation, and Peter's going to be putting together the most kick-ass guide to publishing, which is going to be part of this. And we're going to bring in writers and other people to use the back end so we can figure out how do we, I think that you can explain to somebody in a 3-minute video, you'll know everything you need to know about how to do it and how to create the functions. It could be wrong. So that's going to be the next phase. And once we feel confident enough that somebody who's never spoken to Peter or I, who just comes to the page cold, will be able to be up and running in 10 minutes, then we're going to open up to a wider group.
And so in the meantime, what can fans of the show or people who maybe don't have like I know as somebody who's written a few books, I would love to enter. All I did was go and click on the sign up for the beta list and put my information in, and I assume I'm going to be maybe given a login at some point, or should I have already gotten something?
Yes. So what we'll do is when we do that, we're going to do a beta rollout. We're going to put together, like, the next step is to put together a video like this is how the back end works and how to do it. And we didn't want to do that right away because we're trying to figure out what's different. And I literally added 2 days ago, I added a whole, because we incorporate like Google Analytics into it, and you can do things like A/B testing, so you can have an alternate version of a description for a book and test that versus another to see which one get the most Amazon clicks through. So we have a lot of these high-powered features, and now we're trying to figure out how do we make them more simple, because if I tell somebody, most authors don't have a Google Analytics code, so that's frustrating. So 2 is I had to figure out what's a data package I could put in there. So I put in a simple one, which basically on my end, my page, I can go and I can see how many views I had in the last hour. I can see how many views I had today. I can click on my books. I can see how many people looked at my books in the last hour, in the last day, in the last 30 days. So we have to show people what this stuff is and make it easy. And so make it easy to understand. So design questions. Let me throw this to the committee here. If you go to, let's go to Peter's page here, and if we go click on books, we have a list of his books here, and we have this sort of more thing, and we think that that's probably going to be the first page people are going to look at after they go to, the main page. And my thought initially was, let's click on more, and it takes you to a separate page where it's got a whole listing for the book. Do we do that, or back on that page, should it just expand to reveal the whole book? Also, should we be putting like the Amazon buttons and the other buy buttons on that page right there, below there?
I think it's on that page if you can do it cleanly.
Yeah, that's the only question is how clean it'll be, because on the other hand, just a single design element, like making something too cluttered like that, can really jeopardize people's enjoyment of it, of that being their go-to place to explore a new author.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, if it slides down and it just seems like, where like, for example, what we're looking at now, like Bloodletting Part 1 would fall, and right under Second Paradigm would be the Amazon link or whatever.
So it would work like on the front page where we have the accordion for the email sign up. So it would work like that. I think that also, and Peter, I want your opinion. I mean, Peter, of course I want your opinion on it, but like, I think we need to put the buy buttons on that page.
Originally I was completely on the side of having buy buttons on that page. I was like, well, why can't they buy here? Why can't they buy here? But the more that I've played with it, the more I've kind of reversed my stance, and I really like the way that it's laid out, where people can just kind of look through the list of books and then be like, okay, you can click on the cover, you can click on the more button, whatever, and you can bounce over and look at the book page. But I like this because, let's go to Second Paradigm. I actually utilized a lot more functionality on Second Paradigm than the other books. So, I've got a quote from Brooks. I've got an editorial review. I've got the actual book back text and tags down at the bottom. And so, I used a lot more of the features that we have available on this. And so having that separate landing page, I think it gets too cluttered if there's all of that information in an accordion, plus the rest of the books dropping down below it.
Yeah, I'm against the idea that there would be a bunch of buy buttons automatically loading there, because part of this experience is this is going to be a personal experience between author and reader, right? You are inviting the reader into the way that you would be as an author, very happy with your work on display. And hierarchically, if this were to be looked at as comparatively to you walking through a bookstore, there should be one action between looking at the book, thumbing through the book, and then looking at the price, right? Like that's something that can be one click beyond. But if that one click also is what gets you more information and everything, then I think having the buy button there is appropriate.
So that's helpful. I mean, that's the thing that we need, is because we get so up in our own heads. So another question here is, you'll notice that what's gross and not elegant right now is the buy buttons. And I just went back and forth trying to figure out, like, the reason that the Amazon button behaves differently right now is because I have a Google event tracker click to it. So if Peter put in a different version of the book description, and an A version and a B version, we can tell which one encouraged more clicks on Amazon. And so that's why that looks funky compared to the other ones. So I'm trying to, should that be an Amazon button that looks like the Amazon Slick button, and should it be a Kobo button and a Barnes & Noble button?
I think it should be one button format.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on which ones look better.
Well, and also, like, I would love examples of, if we have some ideas of, like, hey, these buttons, these are standardized format buttons that all look good, because I'm not in love with those buttons at all. We are very, very receptive towards contact at author page. If you say, hey, here's a thing that looks good over here, or this is a thing that looks good here, please tell us, because Peter and I can go back and forth over and over again, but we have very similar viewpoints on a lot of things, and we're not the person on the other side of the house, because we have to please the author, and then we have to please people who are using this to go find information about books and stuff. So, that's going to be helpful. And it's weighing those different features. And so one of the things we're excited about is it's very easy to share stories. If you click on Peter's page, you can see he's uploaded a bunch of short stories here, and we put in the read time. So if you want a quick read, whatever, you can read a short story. So we're able to use our book format for that.
I actually had a fan reach out to me, a reader reach out to me last night and say that the read times are very accurate. She read One Large Universe, and she was like, yeah, and I was surprised to discover it took me exactly 8 minutes.
So I looked at the medium, the rate at which they figure out their read times, and I didn't agree with it. And so I did my own sort of a little fudging on that to figure out what I thought should be, an accurate read time. And I think I think I tried to figure that if people are reading a short story, you're not gonna scan as much as when you read, let's say, a news story. So yeah, those things will vary. We should have like a slider. Are you a slow reader? Have you had coffee today?
No, I mean, I think that these are good. I mean, these are, to me, what really, really sold me on this idea was really this formatting. And what I would encourage everybody to do is look at how these stories format on a phone, how they format on your iPad, how they format on your desktop, because I really just like, how this looks. I think it feels really accessible, especially on mobile, in a way that nothing else really does. And I think it's because not many of the other big places where people talk about or buy books, like Goodreads or Amazon, really have that much of a that much of an interest in being a place where you're easily able to read stuff. Either Amazon wants you to buy it, or Goodreads, you're probably already read it. There's not a lot of like new stuff kind of going up there. So
look at the core functionality and design philosophy of each site. The purpose of Goodreads is not to read books, but to tell people what you are reading so that they can then read it. It's a social network based around liking what you're reading. The purpose of Amazon is, of course, to sell the book. There's nothing out there that the purpose is to encourage reading
or to focus on the books themselves, because obviously as authors become celebrities, and as they become brands, if you bump into Stephen King for the first time at the Rite Aid and he hands you his card and takes you to stephenking.com, for all you know, it's going to be talking about the charity that he's promoting. You go to George R. R. Martin's site, you're going to hear about his fantasy football picks or whatever. Whereas like the brand of this seems to be, it's who it is and what they write, and that's it. And I think that there's a simplicity to it that I think is very appealing for somebody shopping for a new favorite author.
Yeah, although I will say never follow Martin's fantasy football picks. They all end up on the injury list.
Ah! Well, I'll tell you what,
One of the things that
considering
we're
his track
exploring, too,
record,
is
that's
the
probably
idea
lucky for them.
Of creating a way for authors to sell short stories, and there's not a market for books that are really under $3. If you want to put something on Amazon for 99 cents or $2, they take a much bigger chunk of it, and so that's going to be another thing that we're going to look into trying to do. We're just asking ourselves, what do we want as authors? What would be perfect? What would be the perfect thing to solve problems for Peter and myself?
Yeah, I think this is what I really, really loved about this was it was drawing a really tight circle around a very, very pernicious problem for authors, and I am extraordinarily impressed with what you guys have put together.
So to answer two questions from the chat realm, we maybe already own podcasterpage.com. Just throwing that out there, just so you know. We are looking at like where can we create these single purpose for this thing to do it. And this is not meant, if let's say you write and you do other things, then you could take the link to this page and put it in your main page as your book section. Click books and it'll take you to this thing. So you can use it you could use it as your main page. Or you can use an answer. There's a lot of controls so if you just use it as a books page, your front page is like, welcome to my page for books, and you don't have to have the header with the photos or whatever. We're trying to make this a lot of options, but simple, and that's the hard part. So somebody asked, why Rails? And the answer comes down to this, is that I was trying to... I kept going back and forth with when it came to, writing or trying to like code, where I wanted to create a lot of stuff. I've had a lot of projects I've wanted to do before, and I was always asking friends for favors to help me with that stuff. And that often as it became more complex, it was hard to follow through on things. And, it was May, it was just literally May. I said, maybe I should just buckle down and learn how to code and how to do it. And I've used JavaScript. We created back in the day when we created our sites like Weird Things and iTricks and all that. We used WordPress and a little bit of PHP and HTML and CSS and all that. So a little bit, but not a really deep understanding of stuff. And I thought, let me really get to enough where I know how to find the answer to do things more complex. So I started with Ruby. If you want to learn a language, I highly recommend Ruby. Ruby is very simple. Ruby is very forgiving. Ruby has its limitations as far as speed and other things. When you're talking about, if you're trying to do something that's like gaming or something like that, it's not the language you want to use. But for a lot of stuff and web stuff, it's perfect. So I learned Ruby. There were a lot of great tutorials. There's tryruby.org. If you go to tryruby.org, fun little intro to it. You see how it makes things very simple. So like, a big thing you use a lot in programming is like, a loop to loop through a bunch of things. In JavaScript, you got to set up your variable I, how many times it's going to count off I, and do all that. In Ruby, it's literally, you say your variable dot each, and then do, and then brackets, whatever you want it, the variable name, and then you put what it to do, and then say end. I mean, it sounds like a lot listening to it, but trust me, it's so much more simple to do that. So I started the Ruby. I did every single tutorial I could find on Ruby. I started with the Try Ruby, and then I moved on to all these other beginner tutorials. And so I spent several days doing that. And then after a couple weeks of just trying to get that under, in my wheelhouse, I tried Rails stuff first, but I was just so not sure what was Rails and what was Ruby. And I saw advice out there from people who were more experienced programmers that it's like, as a writer, the further away you get from where you start, the worse your advice can be. Would you agree, Peter?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, you listen to a lot of like writers have been writing for 20 years. They tell you stuff like, I don't think, that's really, what it is. So anyhow, I thought Ruby was great. And then I moved into Rails, and I did several Rails tutorials. One of the best ones I did was 1 month Rails. Did it in 4 days. The 1 month Rails, don't be thrown by the name. Did 1 month Rails. And that gave me enough of a foundation to start doing what I wanted to do and how to find out answers for stuff. So that's why I did that. Is in answer to like, if we can create web pages for other stuff, we'll do that, we're for other services and stuff, we're absolutely going to be, looking into, what other areas we can do and where, but we want to stay within what our expertise is.
Well, this is a
question.
very pivotal part for you guys going forward, because as soon as you put an idea kind of out into the world, everybody sees it as their own thing, right? Everybody, this is where you start to get into the woods. And what I think has been very, very admirable for you guys going forward has always been that this is about your relationship with authors. You guys are authors. You know that world. You know who to talk to. You know what those issues are, and just building the most effective tool. And I think even going forward, I know people have said like, "Oh, what about podcasters? What about photographers? What about this, that, and the other?" They're going to best have a solution when they can solve a problem for authors, and then think about, okay, well, what works here, what doesn't work here,
Yeah. There was another question that I thought was really good that actually keyed into something that we haven't talked about. There is someone, Stacy, I think, asked if there was a social networking aspect behind the page. And Andrew, you actually built in two kind of channels or venues for social networking. One, readers can email, tweet the stories and chapters that they read on the site, but there's the promote page as well. You want to talk about that for a sec?
Yeah, so we have what you don't see is sort of on, and I think next time we talk about it, I'll give Bryce a code in the back end so you can see the back end part of it. We have a lot of built-in stuff to make it very easy to like promote, like to create tweets and to push stuff out there, and it suggests this is a tweet. The goal is, if you're an author and you're like, all right, I need to spend 30 minutes promoting, what do I do? Just go to author page, open up your author page account, go to promote, and we'll say, go do this. Just here's a thing you can do really quickly. We'll give you ideas for how to promote. We'll come up with suggestions for tweets to put out there, or news emails to send out there, because that's, Brian, how much time do you spend trying to figure out like what your promotional emails are going to look like, or what they're going to, what they're going to say?
Hold on. My promotional e-bills, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that industry term. I mean, you mean the crap I write?
Well, when I get a rogues gallery thing, what do you call that?
I don't know. Just the you said emails. I heard e-bills, and I was thinking that it was like playbills for the electronic age or something. I was confused. Yeah, we I don't know. Those go through like 3 to 4 hours process. You just spit something out. You hand it to the other person who points out all the things you did wrong, and then you go back again and you're like, there's not enough references to Voltron and Transformers and Star Wars in there, and then you and then you get something, you're like, yeah, that's pretty good, and then
you do great ones. You do really, really good ones. They feel fresh, they feel original, they don't feel like just sort of templatey kind of stuff. But it's a process. You have several people involved in that. And that's part, if you're a one-man band and you're trying to promote a book and you want to every week send out to do something, and if it takes a good 4 hours to figure out a plan to do that, that's a lot. That's a lot. And that's one of the problems on the back end.
And we have the benefit of like, I usually have John do the first draft, because John just, he's mainly interested in, what are the vitals that will get this thing sold. And then I look at it, I'm like, well, that looks like an advertisement. And so then I try to tell a story, and then John looks at it again through the lens of like, well, this is a fine story, but does it hold my attention? And then he's like, well, all of this could go. So it's like, those are roles you can assign yourself. as you make multiple passes of it. I'm sure you guys do this with your writing as well. Is like, first let me write it as I see it in my head, then let me read it as somebody who is less tied to it, and what is when is this person tuning out, and what can I inject there to rope them back in?
Mm-hmm. We're looking at, if we narrow it down to trying to work with writers, we can come up with very helpful things to say, we know that this works well for writers. We know this works well for that. And, we're looking at some point of even creating a system where it's like, hey, let us promote your book for you. We'll create an automatic system or something to go do that. And we're talking about, we want to make this scale for everybody. So if you're like, hey, I just wrote a book, I've never written a book before, whatever, we want to help you find a way to make sure it's the best book it can be, how to find an audience for it, and how to get it out there.
Well, heck yeah, man. Well, and I guess in the meantime, back to the original question, like, what could we do? The short answer is to check it out, to write you guys and let you know what we want to see from it. If you're somebody who wants to have one of these pages, you can go ahead and sign up for the beta on there. If you're somebody who is reading it, trying to learn more about Peter J. Wax and Andrew Mayne, but there's some obvious question that you feel like is unanswered, I'm sure you guys would like to hear about that as well.
Yeah, we've got at the bottom of the page, there's a whole issue tracker thing, and we've had 6 responses. We've been able to address every single one of those so far, so that's been good. And that's one of the problems we have to deal with is we're figuring this thing out. Like, we were about to launch yesterday, and I realized there were a lot of vulnerabilities. If you find a vulnerability, tell us. Don't go put your Russian porn up there just yet. Just send that directly to me, and then tell us about the vulnerabilities. We're not experts at what we're doing here.
Good call,
guys. Thank you for letting us talk about Author Page.
Oh no, man! I'm excited to continue to see it evolve. This is something that I know you have worked a tremendous amount on, you and Peter, and this is something very, 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 very exciting because, again, very rarely do you get these kinds of like really great focused solutions, and considering where the money can come in from these sort of like no harm, no foul affiliate code stuff, it's just a win-win for everybody.
We hope so. We want our interest to be very much in line with the interests of the author, and part of the problem is that different services function differently. If you're Facebook, you're the product. Your product advertisers you to have you promote to other people, and Facebook provides a wonderful service, but Facebook is also, it's a marketing machine. And if you're using other systems or services, like I love Amazon, I have a great relationship with Amazon, but Amazon knows that like once somebody's on my book page, Amazon wants to make a sale. Doesn't matter what they buy as long as somebody buys something. So if that means having literally 40 different advertisements on an average book page for non things that aren't that book, how do we do that? So we're trying to work really hard to keep our interests in line with the authors. We're going to be working really hard to figure out, once people go to your page, how to help your fans find something they want to read and how to do that, how to help authors bring people there. We're big on the whole idea of use short stories to get people started. Hey, come to my site, not just to look at my books, read a free short story, whatever. So,
and that's, I think, really, really where you can start to generate a lot of traffic is when you have a way to just say, hey, look, again, this is about the relationship between readers and authors. And that's really, I know I'm really excited because the likelihood that I can write a short story that I'm proud of is fairly high. I have a few very silly, stupid books that, periodically sell a few copies. And if I can generate interest in that by putting up a funny new short story, and I've got a place that doesn't lead me to putting in unnatural kind of links in a certain place and keeps people in a natural ecosystem where people can then buy the other silly ebooks, that's rad. That's great. I think that solves a huge hurdle for me.
Well, thank you. Any picks?
Man, it's not a creativity related pick, but I found myself you ever find yourself in I don't know how many of you guys do audiobooks, but then you find yourself in the same physical place where you were when you were listening to an audiobook, and you kind of nostalgically think like, oh man, it was really great playing this game while listening to this audiobook in this place. And then you're in that place, and then I finally was like, Maybe I should just listen to that audiobook again. So I am indulging myself, and since I'm all caught up on podcasts, I'm redoing the Gentleman Bastard series, starting with The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. It's fantastic.
What game were you playing before?
Well, it's, I mean, there, to be honest, it was playing Hearthstone again. I got back into Hearthstone, and I was like, and I was out in places, and I was like, oh, look at me. This is like, maybe I'll just complete that picture. And so I did.
My pick is specifically a video of friend of Night Attack and an all-around rad guy, Mikey Newman. He does the Movies with Mikey series.
So good. Did you just watch the Interstellar one?
I did, and I thought that was really cool. But what I wound up really enjoying that I had not caught was his Galaxy Quest review. And what I think it spends a lot of time talking about what makes a classic comedy and why comedy can very often be kind of ephemeral, and specifically why very often we might be coming to the end of kind of a great gigantic boom of improvised comedy. And largely a lot of the I forget his name now, but what's his name? The guy who has all the movies, that directed the Amy Schumer one. Anyway, whatever.
This guy that they're showing on screen. I'm going to show you a picture of him.
Oh no. God! All right, it's gonna kill me. Somebody can put it in the chat room. The guy who directed the Amy Schumer movie last summer.
Got it.
Anyway, he Galaxy Quest goes into why this movie kind of has its own its own sort of timeless sort of nature to it, and really compares it a little bit, I mean, very favorably to Ghostbusters in terms of it giving its characters stakes, in terms of it Judd Apatow, in terms of it really bringing a lot of these themes kind of home. And I wound up getting into a Twitter conversation about, for example, the difference between something like Galaxy Quest, which really punched above its weight, and This Is the End, which I thought was a very funny movie, but ultimately had characters that you couldn't necessarily relate to, journeys that weren't necessarily clear, and rules that were never fleshed out. And that's something that Galaxy Quest does really, really well, and Mikey can explain all of that far more eloquently than I can. So go ahead and check out Movies with Mikey in general.
Plus, he can
Galaxy
remember
Quest.
Judd Apatow's name.
What was that?
Plus, he can remember Judd Apatow's name.
And he remembered Judd Apatow's name, which is certainly something that I was not able to.
Peter, do you have a pick?
I hadn't even thought about it until like 30 seconds ago. I've been so bouncing back and forth between editing that manuscript and author page with you that I have not done anything for like the last month outside of sit in my basement, which is, where I am here. I got nothing. Nothing is coming into my head right now.
Your pick is the basement? We can all hang out in your basement? Please say we can all hang out in your basement.
Yes, the pick is my basement. Come hang out in the basement. There's lots of awesome stuff to do in it. And it's nice
Does look pretty rad, actually.
Yeah.
Hey,
There's
my Colorado apartment there.
Yes.
Peter's basement
That's
is
all
really
I've got.
awesome. In fact, if you just randomly, go pick anything off, there's always a story. He's got an amazing collection of Game of Thrones beers.
Wow.
You heard of these?
Yeah,
Pardon?
no, I remember they started coming out around like the second or third season, right?
Yeah. You give me 1 second. I'll show you. There have been okay. Those are my
Wow.
Game of Thrones beer shelves, and right here are the actual bottles.
Yeah, what was the brewery that did this?
This is Omagong.
Omagong, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I remember
And,
I had a very unfortunate night on Omagong Wit one day when I was still living in California. Involved me vomiting on the floor.
Oh my. Yeah, I don't recommend going that far into it, but they're
No.
really,
Nor
really
should you.
tasty
Nor should you.
beers.
But it was because the beer was so darn tasty that I kept having all of them.
I know, right? Yeah, their next beer actually comes out on September 19th, I believe.
Which one is that? Do you know what it is? Or is it
They're going to put out a Belgian red, and I think either a wheat or a blonde.
Nice.
And it'll be, I mean, you have to keep an eye out for it because it generally sells out across the country within a couple days.
Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Dude, big
Excellent.
ups. Andrew?
Me, my turn. My pick is listen. It's worth listening to or checking out if you're. I'm just trying to get it deep into the history of books and literature and understanding where different genres started and formats did. And I finished it, and I can't say that. I can't say that, like, man, this was a rip-roaring adventure and I loved it, but it was certainly pivotal, important for understanding where the genre started from. And that was, I finally finished King Solomon's Mines, which was by Sir H. Rider Haggard, which is the story of Alan Quatermain, which is one of the most successful series of all time about this gentleman, well, it's an adventurer in Africa, an elephant hunter, and who every sort of story that's ever come since then, whether it be Indiana Jones or other sort of adventure stories, were influenced very much by this. You can get this if you have, like, as Bryce has pulled up on the page here, if you get the Kindle ebook for free, if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, you can get the audiobook for like 99 cents.
Oh, wow.
And it is very much written of that age. 1885, is that still Victorian or is that Edwardian? What period would that be?
I think that's Victorian, right?
That is Victorian. Victorian goes until about 1904.
So it is definitely worth it to see. It's about, the sort of the adventure story sort of genre started from there. So I listened to that. Now I've started on Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, which I would say is probably a little bit more interesting of a story. But it's just, I do think it's worthwhile to check these things out to see where they started from. So that is my pick.
Dude,
is King Solomon's Mines, a book written 130 years ago.
130 years young. King Solomon's Mines.
Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, everybody, it's been after.
Goddamn right it's been.
So it has.
Hell yeah.
Oh, damn. So after.
Cool.
After. So, fun thing is, Peter had asked about doing a contact page, and I really deliberated on doing a contact page about, I don't know, I like the idea of putting an about, and then the contact invites this, and back and forth. And so I finally did add a contact page on there. And the way I made it work is a lot of the things that you see on that site are, if you don't fill out your the about doesn't appear in the menu. If you don't fill out your contact page, there ain't no contact page in the menu.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's smart.
Nice.
Because that's one thing you don't want is you want everything to either look curated like it's a store or vibrant if it's being updated, right?
Yeah,
Like,
if you don't have blogs, there's no news. There's no blog or news thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, Stacy. I know that my work will be around 130 years from now because I seal it and bury it in the backyard. So there'll be at least one copy.
And I have sent a telegram 130 years in the future to contact the police to dig it up.
I did you one better. I hired those Pony Express chaps to.
I still have people banging it out on drums.
I've told my books to whales who will sing my song.
There's a interesting article I read about why fax machines are so popular in Japan.
Why is that?
There were multiple explanations, but it seems to be that kind of like just about every phone you buy there, you still need a landline for some reason. Like, I forgot what it is. You kind of have to have you have to have a landline to be tied into to do credit card stuff or other things. They're required to have a landline, which is an interesting security protocol. And every phone they sell there pretty much comes with a fax machine built in.
And since it's there, somebody might as well use it, or.
Yeah, and it was curious too, because I remember I had a discussion with somebody 10 years ago about oh yeah, no, the Asian phones are so much better than ours. We're so way behind. This is before the iPhone and Android. And I'm like,
Yep.
I said to her, this is a woman who worked for IBM. I said, well, it's like talk about Japan. I'm like, it's because they don't really use PCs there because they got too many damn characters. I said their PC market's not there, so they have a bunch of functions on their phones, but they're not really. It's not that they're anyhow. And then
From there on up, you
They don't
started
have
fighting.
fax machines. How else are they gonna fire an aging Marty McFly?
Just thinking about that today.
Hey, man, there was an awful lot more they got right than I would have expected.
Yeah, man. I want to be on those, the hanging upside down because my back's bad, floating around.
I want to wear 2 ties.
Oh, right. The traction hover.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
Justin, if we have to replace you on the show, but we don't want anybody to know that we replaced you.
Oh yeah, just put a big beard on anybody and
Good thing we put a life cast
Take
for
care.
special effects purposes.
No,
Did
I
you
would
sit-
love to have been in the writers' room when that happened.
we're
Did
all
you
gonna
guys
be
see the
we're all gonna
Hover
be
April
replaced with
Fools last year?
Snapchat filters anyway.
The Hover April Fools, the one with Tony Hawk and
Yep.
whatnot.
Yep. Like Moby and Tony Hawk.
Yeah, I didn't get the whole purpose of that. Like they weren't even
I'm
selling
like,
Pepsi at
this
the
is
end of it.
not real. Okay, what's this for?
Was
And
that
it turns out,
was it even during April? I feel like
No,
it was.
I don't think it was.
They started it
was
in
before.
they started it in December of 2014, and they revealed all the people who were signing up for pre-orders of the hoverboard and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because they actually did have a drive-through site, and you could go and you could like get on a mailing list or whatever. And they revealed, yeah, no, we haven't been collecting anything. It was all
Wow.
just a joke.
Wow.
Yeah, man, what pranksters? Oh, jeez,
wow.
these
Spent
guys.
a lot of money on that one that nobody believed when it first came out.
Yeah,
Hey guys,
Crazy.
President Obama is sitting right here on my couch.
Wait, is he really?
What?
Oh.
what?
With a hoverboard?
Well, that was actually I joke about that. I know a magician decided to try to make people think that he did something magical for the
jeez.
president. That was
Yeah.
awkward and weird. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
We're
That
not
was the
recording.
thing.
Right, just our fans and our friends and everybody else.
Um,
Yeah. He's not here, by the way.
Oh, damn. Hey, speaking of Magic, yeah, big shout out to Stan Allen, who announced that Magic Magazine is shutting down. Certainly the magazine of record for the Magic industry that has been graced on the cover by both Andrew and Brian. They're gonna do 4. I think it's like another 4 years where there's 4 issues that are going to come out once every 3 months or so, called Legacy. So it's a new subscription, but I think it'll be really, really good because I'm sure they got a lot of people coming out of the woodwork that want to be part of this big final thing for Magic Magazine. But I emailed with Stan and I was just to let him know that it was a great job, as if he needs to be told that. But I wanted
Yeah,
to,
no, I think that's a really, really smart thing for them to do in a world where, the purpose of ephemera, of periodicals, of magazines were to be up to the minute. When that has largely been supplanted by the internet, it makes sense to evolve and become something different.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, it's hard. It's hard to run stuff, and especially when it's an old dying medium. Like in many ways, he was almost lucky that he was always working in a niche that technologically tends to be a little bit behind the curve, because he didn't experience kind of maybe the same whiplash that other circulations would.
Yeah.
But no matter what, the problem with publishing, of course, is that there is a network effect. Like if the place that runs off your magazines has less orders, that means that it can distribute its cost of materials less, and the price goes up even if you're not necessarily changing your particular circ. So it is certainly rough times for all that. But I know big ups, R.I.P. Magic Magazine.
Hey man, I gotta see if the 8-year-old has killed the 3-year-old yet. Nobody shouted, so
Are you
I'll be
taking
right back.
bets?
Yeah, exactly. So follow Brian on Twitter. He's gonna cash out. All right, guys.
Cool.
Hey.
Thanks, Justin.
And thanks everybody for watching. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
being
having me
Peter.
on.
It was great.
Yeah.
Peter,
Sure.
I'm going to Skype you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, peace
And
out.
with that, we end our live stream. Goodbye, everybody.